I'm like, just shifted everything around.
Weird over here. Oh, we're really
Oh,
close.
great, and we got the people over here. On the wrong side of the room. And it's like, what just happened? How's Rick over here?
Last week were sides.
Yeah. Oh, so now he's like, eyes on which one. He was over here.
He wanted to be on the winning side.
I was like, he lost over here, didn't he? Yeah, he did. So now he shifts over in case we split up the room. Let's start with bucket fills and what's good.
Had a lot of activity in the parade of homes, and it's good. Sometimes the people don't show up for like 3 hours, and then 18,
And then they all come
and then
at the
18
same
groups
time.
comes, you can't have a conversation, so it was good. Yeah.
Good, awesome. What else?
I was gonna say it's 77 in the end of September, but I guess that would piss her off.
Already talked about that.
We already talked about that, Scott. What else is good?
I accepted an offer on listing and had an offer accepted by buyers.
Yay.
That's
We
awesome.
love that.
This was gonna be further out. They weren't gonna buy right away. Like you worked through some things with this client.
Yeah,
So,
and they were gonna rent, but buy, and now we found something above what their original budget was even. and They're all.
weird how all that just happens
Best
when you
client.
ask the right question. Awesome. Good for you.
Jeff and Holly helped my clients, start or find a space for Big Island bouldering.
Okay.
And they launched a bouldering company and the opening was last week, like the soft opening, like pre-construction. So
That's like close by, right? You were
Yeah.
talking about it a few weeks ago.
it's just off at the tile shop.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. What else? What else is good? Bucket fills.
I'd like to thank the admin who participated in the luxury event out there. I mean, it was quite obviously a lot of people there, and it just was really nice because I know you guys helped out a lot. You know, you were there to let people in, and was Lydia, she was making drinks, and Heather was helping, and everybody was helping, you know, so that was a lot. That was a big deal, so thanks for that.
Yeah, it was a cool event. It's a really cool event. Awesome. I want to thank the leadership team. I've been a little out of pocket for some family things, and I told my coach yesterday, there's times where we forget like who you have on your side, right? Or things get really busy throughout life, and they've come through a lot. Whether or not it's back office stuff, whether or not it's team meetings, and so I just want to thank them because they're one of a kind. So kudos to you guys. And if Kevin's on, I don't know where he is, but he can be pretty key. All right. Next. Happy hour. You want to talk about this?
Yes.
I was like, what? No.
I'm
What are the benefits of that?
But I don't know what I want to say.
Awesome. No, just, please come on out. We're at Duke's on 7. We're gonna cover the first round, tour 2 and appetizers. So please come on out, hang out for a little bit.
And there's a patio, right?
It's
So
a
you can
great
enjoy
patio,
it.
and you can bring a
That's
dog if you
great.
want to. It's dog friendly. So if you got your dog bouncing around,
We'll be
Good.
leaving my dog then.
you can bring the dogs.
Hey.
Dogs are great.
Bringing mine.
There you go. Nice.
So that's today at 4. Oh, you want to chat a little bit about this?
Yes, actually, we're doing
This
this.
is all you.
I guess so. We're really lining them up here. I should have spread it out a little bit better. Yeah, so tomorrow we're gonna host a Zoom with the head of our condo team. I chatted with him yesterday. He's super knowledgeable across the country. And we've got a unique team that will kind of dive in and see how you can mitigate risk on listing, you know, your condos, whatever we can deal with, some of the issues on the associations are dealing with insurance deductibles going up and just all kinds of issues that way. And he's just super knowledgeable, so I hope everybody can jump in. If you can't make it, you know, shoot me your questions. We'll make sure that they get answered on that, but I think it'll be a good kind of overview for folks who are new, don't know what to know about condos, but also for some of those folks that have been a little more experienced with it. I think he'd be a good resource for us.
And I would say if you're like, oh, I just don't work in condos, that's when your next client is gonna ask you. And it is better to go to a class like this and even just learn about it now and have it in a docket when that comes up, right? Because if you don't learn about it now and you're trying to learn in the transaction, that's where issues come up, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm not a condo person, you don't know that because you don't always know who you're working with unless you're gonna refer out that condo, which I guarantee most of you do not do. So either way, everyone should be there, especially with some of the changes that are happening in the association portion of it. Wendy?
Just to add to that, we just had a deal fall through because it was an unwarrantable property because of the insurance issues with the condo. We're starting to see this more and more, even in some townhouse associations. And I know that it's an even bigger, if you have clients that are transferring that you're referring to Florida, it's a huge issue there. So to be on the front end of understanding this makes you the expert.
And if you guys are like, I have no idea what they're talking about, you especially should be there, right? Because that's also a thing, right? If you're like, I don't know what you even mean by that.
And that's,
Come and ask your question.
and Jim's got, it's good overview too. I mean, about going through what's warrantable, what's not warrantable, what's a spot approval, when to use a spot approval, you know, just a lot of opportunity to kind of
You
gotta
see
find yourself.
You see banks going the way of getting into the insurance business for properties?
That's, I don't know, right? There's gotta be something that changes on insurance right now. It's a pop,
I think that's too many to see.
yeah, somebody's gonna have to, because right now the insurance is wagging the dog right now, so we gotta figure out something for sure, but I don't know.
Awesome. Who's going tomorrow? Who's gonna be on this? Nice. All right. Bold is completely sold out, you guys. So as I have been talking about this for, I don't know how many weeks now, we actually have a waiting list for Bold, to do the full week or the full weeks. So if that tells you anything, I don't know what the count's at. There are quite a few agents that are investing in their business and moving forward with this because they find it important. So whatever I say or any agent here, agents showed up because they find this incredibly valuable. So next time, or if you're on the waiting list, quite honestly, they could potentially open up another one. I don't know for sure. Yeah.
They've kind of made it sound like they're not going to open up a
Okay.
second one this fall because Bold, if you can believe this, is sold out nationwide. So every fall Bold across the country that has started has been sold out. So they will be launching another one in January. They're thinking around January or February, a winter one. So we should have another one coming to our area that.
Can I be really transparent with you? I don't think Bold has sold out for quite a few years. Yes, they are revamping Bold, but that is not the reason why Bold sold out.
Not really revamping.
They're redoing the
Whole new-
whole thing,
Whole
yeah.
new Bold.
But I surely don't think that's the reason why. Agents are taking their business really seriously right now, and I think for the last 4 years, we felt like we didn't need training, right? Because the clients were kind of just everywhere. But things are shifting, and if you are not investing in your business with trainings, and it doesn't have to be a monetary piece, but if you're not showing up for those, you're not doing yourself a favor and you're not doing your clients a favor. That's why things like this are selling. Because trainings are incredibly important always, but as things are shifting again, it's even more important. And it's even more important to be networking with agents, not just even inside our company. It's important to be networking with agents outside of our company. So if there's a training that you're like, man, you should go to, bring them with, because it sharpens everyone at that point in time. Do you guys agree with that? The 200 and
204 right now are going to be at our specific Bold in our area. And I think there's 350 signed up for First Step. Because they made it sound like you can still come to First Step and get, you know, a value out of that
Yeah.
first day.
Any questions around that? And honestly, as we keep, we put our training together, calendars together. If there's something that you are really, really wanting to learn about, let us know. Or you feel like, man, I'm not really great at this and I want to be able to learn from people that are, tell us, right? Because these trainings are for you. If these are things that you don't want to learn about, let us know. and say, man, that doesn't apply to me, or I'm not gonna, which most likely it still does apply to you, but if certain topics, tell one of the leadership, team members, and we'll get it on the calendar. Questions? All right, next. Do you want to talk about this, Heather? Because you're really excited about it.
I'm pretty excited about this.
That's her excitement. I'm excited for you. I'm really excited.
We have training 3 days a week at 11 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 11 to 12 every single week. We really search hard for what we think our agents need and what we want to do our training on. We ask a lot of people to come in and speak and a lot of people to host them. And I feel they're very, very valuable. I would like to see a larger attendance at all 3 of these trainings. So we are for the fourth quarter, we are putting your name in a drawing for every training you come to. And at the end of the year, we're going to give away a $500 gift card. So if you come to 3 trainings a week, that gets your name in there 3 times. So we'd really like to see you all there. And I really think you're going to get a lot of value out of all those trainings.
And the reason we do things like this is because we find that the $500 gift card is more important to you than the $10,000 or $10,000 commission check that you get. So therefore, I can't wait for all of you to be there. Like, it's really funny how the human brain works. You're like, ooh, $500. Yeah, I'm in. I'm like, you could make $30,000 with just like 3 clients. But
And like,
it's what it is.
if there's something you want to hear, some training, specific training that you want, let us know. We will get it on the calendar. We'll find the person to host it and, yeah. And for a preview, I believe we're doing some wealth classes
We are
coming
doing
up,
some
aren't
health
we?
classes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Awesome. All right, and here is the training calendar for October. The other thing that we hadn't been putting on here, but I feel like is incredibly important, in our office especially, is there's a commercial meeting that is every single month, right? I know Candy's been going to them, but we just talked about clients getting referred to our commercial agents. If it's something that you are interested in, also just to be able to network with the commercial agents, show up to that, because it's something that you'll probably learn something from it and kind of make relationships with that. So we have the commercial meeting on the 1st. We have what?
First and third Tuesdays of the
Oh,
month.
yep, I'm just not to the. Yep.
perfect.
Free CE, you guys, we just finished CE. We got free CE. Oh, I was like, where'd you go? That's October 3rd at 11 a.m. So again, start just building that CE up so that when it comes to, June, poor Candy, who's not here, is not sending you emails every week, making sure that you don't lose your license. We're not on top of that. So I think that's going to be 1 hour. And then, as you can see, we are shifting our team meetings to Tuesday. I'm sure there's going to be opinions about that. And if there are opinions, I would like to hear them privately via an email to me specifically. Made an executive decision because I believe Bold is that important, and it is on Wednesdays. So me and our leadership team making that decision means that we believe that we should all be there, right? To take your business to the next level. So that's going to be shifted during the time of Bold. So it's going to be October and November. It's now going to be on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock, which the trainings on Tuesdays should have been on your calendar as well. And it'll be the same thing. Every team meeting will be either myself or someone else leading that, and we'll be talking about something that's at hand in the market for those 2 months, and then we'll switch back to Wednesday. Title training with Great North Title on the 10th. We've got the second commercial meeting there on the 15th with our R&R on the 15th as well. Leadership team is out of office on the 16th for a regional meeting. Actually, that's going on. And then we have business planning. Business planning is on the 17th. This is probably one of the best classes of the year in regards to prep you for the next year. A lot of people are like, man, that seems really early. Not really, right? Because as we know, whatever you're planning and how you're shifting your habits does not just set into place, right? If you want to have a really successful first quarter, let's take a reflection on where we're at this year and plan for what the next year is gonna look like. That's gonna be an all day, so it's 9 to 4. There is a fee to that. It's a regional training. It's $99 and it's at Cedars Hall. And here, I don't know if that there's a limit on how many people they're gonna allow into that. I'm not positive, but I do know Cedars Hall is only so big. So either they'd have to shift the seating on that, or they're gonna have to cap it. Questions around this? How many people, go to business planning usually, every year? Quite a few, right? So if this is something you haven't ever done, I would highly recommend looking into it, as it'll kind of help prep you, as well as afterwards. We can meet with you as well and do a little bit more in detail plan, because usually there's questions that come up during that. Wendy?
Anybody know anything about Rebecca Delphos?
I do not know her well. I don't know her personally. I do know that it was kind of handpicked, especially with the new regional director and who was coming here. I know they always kind of ask for different people. So I would trust that it's someone that's going to be remarkable when Olivia is the one that's planning it. Fair? Then we got team meeting. We got some more free CE on the 24th. And then we have Halloween, vision boards, personal and professional goal setting, which by the way, you are gonna get some emails about Halloween costumes, because of course, there will be fun things to do, for that. So just start thinking about what you might wanna dress up as. Derek, I know you probably got something really creative in the back of your mind, you know.
Just a couple ideas.
Just a couple ideas. Well, you know, make sure it's top notch. Who likes Halloween? Okay, so who's gonna dress up on Halloween with me? We're doing it. Are you doing what you were gonna do last year? You didn't do it? I don't think this year's gonna be as scary as last year.
What does that entail exactly?
Dressing up?
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like that day.
Oh, yeah. We'll have all the supplies for the vision board. Yeah, yeah.
Vision board.
Yeah, because that's on that same day. So we'll have all the.
I was supposed to be about costume.
Priority.
Halloween.
We'll be doing our vision boards in our costumes.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the thing, fun thing about vision boards, so
We'll order pizzas.
part of business planning, the reason we kind of put these in the same month, quite honestly, is if you don't have an idea of what's pushing you towards that goal, right? I mean, Derek, you can probably speak to this. We talked about vision boarding, and I think everyone thinks it has to be this crafty thing, which it can be, but otherwise it's truly like, what do you envision for yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? What do you want to achieve, right? It could be a monetary thing. It could be a vacation. It could be a mindset piece. You've talked about looking up at your vision board often, and then all of a sudden being like, all of this happened.
Right. It's like how we used to write ourselves the letter in bold
Yep.
about the things that are showing up in your life, or you'd like to have it show up in your life. And sure enough, by the time, a lot of times when the letter came from bold, they mail it like a year later or 6 months later. Those things have already shown up in your life.
Yeah.
And it's pretty powerful, but you're just training your mind to look for and do the things that you need to get to where you want to go.
My phone's broken, but this is my vision board, and it's on the back of my phone. And I do this with my kids. My kids and I do it every single December, and it's the back of their phones usually as well. So what they see either in sports, what they see, you know, in what they want to achieve, how many books they want to read. It's a powerful exercise that I think is helpful no matter what. You can do it personally, you can do it professionally. You can kind of combine them both. So we can have some fun with that. The other piece is, if you have any like magazines that you're gonna throw away, or you have listings that people have a ton of magazines, bring them in, because that's the one thing, magazines are really expensive now. They're like $8 a piece or $10 a piece. And I'm like, we're just really cutting them up. So if you have extra ones, or you have things that are sent to you, bring them in, and then we can kind of use those versus going out and buying a ton of magazines or printing them. Fair?
I would just say for vision boards, when you're doing your business planning, you'll probably be thinking about a lot of this stuff anyway.
And usually I just find images for my vision board online on Pinterest and you just print them off.
That too. Awesome.
That's the housing one.
Oh, that's the
24th.
free seat.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
seat.
It's like, I don't know what that is. So we might feel like this, we just got done talking about mega camp, but when people are planning their life, right, just like we were kind of pre-planning for our holiday party in like July. Family reunion is coming up February 17th through the 21st. I'm already registered, John's already registered. And again, early bird is a lot cheaper as it keeps going up and getting closer to the time period. You don't have to go to all of these things, but what I would do is I would pick something that you feel is right for you at that time, right? But there's some things that you have to do. I was just talking to Rick and Sherry actually, after the luxury event, of a luxury, training that's coming up. It's not a cheap endeavor, right? And at the same time, they were like, this is what we want to focus on, and putting in an investment in that is worth it, right? So family reunion is always fun because there's more breakout sessions. You can kind of pick and choose what you learn, versus mega camp, which is more everybody in a large group. In family reunion, they actually have, I don't know, I would say 50 breakouts or more each hour, that you get to go and say, okay, I want to learn how to be a better buyer's agent. I want to learn how to take listings. I want to learn how to do open houses, from people that are doing it at a really high level in a smaller group setting than in a large kind of conference room area. You guys have questions around this at all? It is in Las Vegas. So, hey, you know what? If you love Las Vegas and you want to learn, now's your chance.
It is a discounted rate, $8.99 until the 30th of September.
And again, I've said it before I was in this role, and now I actually just make Candy or Heather room with me. I always shared a room with another agent. You're not in there very long, right? So it takes the cost down. And two, you guys can talk about what you learned. So if it's like, oh, I just can't swing it, find a buddy to go with you and share a hotel room or share an Airbnb, or, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to do that. Right.
They also have discounted blocked rates
Yep.
at hotels. So when you buy your ticket, immediately after that, it says book hotel and you get them at discounted rate.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there are some great blocked, discounted rates for family reunion and mega camp, as always.
I just want to add that I think that it's important to consider the mindset that everybody in here should know what your average commission is, right? And if you don't, just figure it out the last year you did business. If you go to something like this and you get one additional client as a result of what you learned there, you've more than paid for it. And that's the amazing thing about real estate. You just have to be intent on learning enough to get at least one more transaction to cover the cost of it. And it's not going to be the case here. You're going to get probably 4 to 6 additional transactions, just like Bold. You know, you may get 8 to 10 as a result. So
If you're like me, every time I leave the state, like 85 buyers come out of the woodwork and say they want to write an offer that day. So either way, you'll probably get at least one form of business. Am I not right? When you're ready to like leave and go on vacation, the people that were never there, all of a sudden they're like, hey, I want to buy. Hey, I want to list my house. And you're like, I'm leaving on we're going to do this. Like it happens all the time.
this is 100% right.
And that's not the reason you should go, but I'm just saying that's a little pointer.
It's worth noting this is 100% write-off too. I mean, there's certain things you do when you go out to dinner with clients, it gets a little uncertain, you know, but this is a hands down easy 100% write-off, all the expenses related.
Yes.
Buy a computer that you need to use while you're there.
Oh, you're there. That would have been any other questions on family reunion? Who's thinking about going to this? All right, yes, this is what I like to see. Nice. And if you have specific questions, come see me. Or if it's, you know, conversation around monetary pieces, always feel open to talk to me about that. Okay?
And if you go to family reunion, I'll make sure that one time you'll have fun. I'll make sure.
It's a lot of fun at Mega Camp down in
That's right.
Austin. We had dinner every night together. We had a good time.
I just said one.
Oh, okay, fine. Fun. Only one time, that's a good time. Well, then can I guarantee another one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, this is you.
Awesome. Me again.
Yeah,
All right.
or both of you. I don't know.
So,
You
yeah.
gotta come up here.
All the way up.
Yeah.
All the way up. I got it. No, just
I
wanted
guess
to.
I brought Jack up last time, so
You
now
did,
it's all
did.
you.
I'll just sit here. That's all right. No, so everybody's probably pretty much aware of this. The Fed cut the Fed funds rate 50 basis points last week, right? Lot of excitement about that. Actually, the media put it out there quite a bit. And the realization is that the market already factored that into rates. So a lot of the excitement was kind of a letdown for some folks because they're like, what happened? What happened on that? So it was just a good reminder that the Fed fund rates is just one of the inputs that impact mortgage rates on that end. So it's, they look at the job reports, they look at housing starts, they look at obviously what the Fed is going to do. That's what their big predictor on that, to think about that way. So, but all indications are that it's going to continue to go down. It's just going to go down in a slower incremental way to probably not to blow up, home prices, that type of thing.
When you say they look at indications, are you
It's the
talking
market.
lenders? You're talking about?
Lenders don't set it, it's the bond market. So the mortgage-backed securities is really what indicates what rates are gonna be, because that's where our secondary is selling into. So that's what tells us what the actual rates
So
are.
what should we anticipate in the event with the expected another 0.5% Fed rate drop? Is that
In a
gonna
year?
have Yeah, is that gonna?
It's
have-
already being factored in. So that's where we'll see a slow incremental drop in rates. So unless there's something drastic that happens, a big war that happens or something really changes inflation, good or bad, we're probably seeing that it's just going to continue that way. So it's basically consistency is good for that way. The thing to think about the Fed is they get to change this every 6 weeks, whereas the market does it daily, multiple times a day, right? They get to take all impacts that way. So that's what I expect to see is beginning of the year, they kind of said rates are going to end up at 5.75. That's probably where we'll end up at the end of the year. I don't think we're going to get much lower than that, maybe by an 8, maybe an 8 higher. Right now, we're sitting low 6s. Some circumstances been doing high 5s already. So, we're coming along those routes. The big thing I think is just be aware of it, because I know I've gotten a lot of calls because people have finally saw this in the news and right.
I think everyone saw it on social media. As soon as it dropped, every real estate agent
Everybody saw it.
was like, guess what? And then they didn't really know how to inform their client on it. So
Exactly.
we got this big buzz going, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, I got a ton of calls on that. And it was just, reset expectations, but be knowledgeable on it this way. I think we can expect just continually going. I never tell people to try and time the market, obviously. If you're going to buy a house, you find your house. Let's make the best choice we've got once we have a timeline, right? I tell my clients, okay, we've got a purchase contract. We know when we're closing. Let's make the best educated choice we can on rates before we close. You don't have to close you don't have to lock the day you get the contract. You've got time. So let's just take a look at it. So hopefully, anybody they're working with is kind of taking that educational approach to that, because there's always a chance for refinances down the road too. So get the best payment you can when you lock in, and then take care of it after the fact.
So can I ask you, how long have you been in this business?
15 years.
15 years. In the 15 years, if you were to say now, because I'll tell you what I would say after doing this for 25 years, watching the rates every day. What's the conversation you're having now when we're talking to people about the rates being under 6%? Is it good, or is it like, oh, that's still, that's still okay?
No, I tell them it's all relative. First off, right? It's the market you're in at the time. You get the best you can, right? I usually have a lock bias because you never know what's going to happen. So as long as you're comfortable with the payment more than anything, I talk them through that way. I say historically, right? Just a year ago, we're pushing. 2 months ago, I was locking people at 7%, right? So now we're approaching 5s. Pretty good time to buy. So I look at it. And, you can time the market when you own the asset. You can't really when you're trying to buy it. So that's kind of the conversation I have. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I'd like to hear from Derek and Tony. Me, under 6% is amazing. It's fantastic. It's a great rate based on what we've seen over the past 20, 30, 40 years. mean, that's a very, very good rate to be offered to buy.
Yeah, other than that blip for 2.5 years, right? That was great.
I've never, in all the homes I bought, I've never been an advocate of a 30-year fixed rate. I've always done ARMs.
Yep.
As of doing this. And for you as a mortgage person, yeah, ARM is an opportunity for you to have that second refinance or something if rates are plus or minus. But in time wise, I mean, how many people live in their house more than 7 years? Honest, I mean, it just doesn't happen. So, you know,
The short-term rates right now are not, they used to give a better report that I'm seeing than most of what's offered to folks. I know you can go get it in certain circumstances. But short-term rates are not as good a reward as it used to be on that. So the ARMs, you know, it depends for the buyer, right?
There's banks that.
There's banks that'll push it out there that they're.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, is like, I have a bank that's very aggressive on it. And so.
There are some, and the most of the market's not that aggressive on that. I think there's probably some choice, on, they're using it as a cost leader, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to answer, you don't want to. You get paid differently on an ARM than you do on a 30-year fix.
I get paid no differently. So I'm trying to get the best rate possible from our folks, what's available to us. Yeah, they took that away based on how you get paid by type of
I
home.
think that's the biggest thing that I talk to clients about in buying homes right now, like you said, is you don't have to lock the day you write the first agreement. Yes, we're hearing that there's more float downs coming, and that's how the client asked me the other day is, well, is there an opportunity on a construction loan? Sure. Is there an opportunity for a float down? And I said, there's some banks out there that'll let you do that because yes, it's going that direction. So
That's the insurance that we offer as well, as a free float down, right? If the market
speak
does.
to that. And that's
crazy
for
happen.
you guys to be telling people, but hey, if your closing is 35, 40, 45, 60 days out, yes, you can lock any potential float down.
Who's had conversations with their clients since all of this popped up in the news?
Lots of them with the rate homes, like,
Did they reach out to you? Like, did people start reaching out to you about this, right? And I think that's, Jelena's shaking her head. That's where we are invaluable in this industry, right? If we don't know the answers to that, number one, call someone that does so that you can educate yourself so that you're ready to answer those questions. Or number two, say, hey, guess what? That's why we have this amazing vendor partner. Let me connect you with Eric, right? Because there's always this news that flies up in the media on whatever it is, right? And if we don't set the right expectation, if someone calls you and you're like, yeah, rates dropped and now they're at whatever, because that's what they're thinking, and that's not true, and it's more of a gradual, like you're saying, right? We just set an expectation that is reflected on us, and they're not gonna be happy, right? Because as we've been talking about for 6 months now, it's not the rate that is the biggest issue, right? It's what does the monthly payment look like? And what is their actual buying power? And as rates go down, what are we gonna know is gonna happen? Price points are gonna go up, right? Because all of a sudden now you're gonna get multiple offers and now they're gonna go over asking price. So it's not just this solo thing in real estate. Interest rates they're not by themselves. Everything else is affected depending on where they're at as well. And that shifts buying power too.
The other thing you're saying, the free float down, we also do a free no cost refinance within 3 years too. So just to offer that to the clients to really let them feel comfortable with that. Then as you appreciate, right, you're gonna build that equity, take advantage of it.
Are you able to speak to why, like what the causes of the jumbo rates being higher than the standard rates and vice versa? Last year jumbo was below.
I think it's the appetite of the investor, right? As you go in that, because with anything conventional, and also that's something to note too, we just raised our conventional loan limit to 800,000 on a single family unit. They haven't come out with it yet for the year, but at Supreme, we're anticipating what it will be. So FYI, that's coming for the next year. So if you have anything like that, just gives more flexibility for buyers to get that lower rate as well.
It's 800 now.
It's 800,000. Yep, it's gone up like that. It'll probably end up being north of 800, honestly, once Fannie or Freddie Mac actually comes out with it. But the reason conventional is there is they have a guaranteed buyer on in the secondary market, right? That's Fannie and Freddie. They're gonna scoop it up. With investors above that, right? It's their appetite wanes, right? On what they want. They want to do that. And the higher you go, the less investors there are, right? They get north of 2 million, there's fewer, so.
I can't imagine the difference. You get a client that buys a house at 950, they're gonna put $150,000 down or so, right? Let's say they put let's say they put $100,000 down at 875, right? 900. Well, you put another $25,000 down, figure out the payment rate difference between 6.4 and 5.75 is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's the conversation you have with them. Say, hey, stay under jumbo and we're gonna change the game entirely.
Yeah, and so it's just a play on that. That way you can have options to put less down. You don't have to put 20% down, really. In the jumbo market, they're really pushing you to put 20-25% down because of that, the risk, right? They're mitigating risk on any property like that. So, yeah, I agree.
The reality of that though too is average sales price is going up. I mean, when we just did that luxury event, I mean, luxury used to be able to get in at like 600,000 in this area in Twin Cities. That's what luxury was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, right?
417
And
for.
now you could touch, I mean, that's not luxury quote unquote anymore. So I'm like, when you're thinking about it, I can't stress enough that real estate agents do not work alone in this industry, right? There's so many things that are at play, whether or not it's interest rates, whether or not it's economy, like our business is affected by so many different things, that we have to be aware of. Like, we truly have to be aware of, to be able to be the best at what we do. Any other questions?
Couple resources for you. So the next one over, we did create the purchasing
Yay.
power chart. So we broke it off into different tranches. This is just one of them. Shoot me a note. I can send that over to you. It's a PDF that you can have available just so you can see, what is the principal and interest payment at various levels, right? So you can have that conversation with your clients. Did it up to $1 million. Of course, we can do it higher. It's just a math problem. So we can do it for you too, but you can do it yourself, but
In the
this
last
is
six-
easier.
In the last 6 months, literally, you can buy a new Jeep Grand Cherokee now for that $500,000. That's $500 payment difference.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I tell people, on my stuff, I tell people you got a new Range Rover. Because payments have dropped so much.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
But I mean, this comes back to the conversation that we had is, at what rate would you be willing to buy?
Or what
We
page?
talk a lot about rate. Do they really know what that means? If they're like, oh, I'm willing to buy, let's just say it's at, 500, I'm willing to buy at 6%, but they're not willing to buy at 7. Do they really know what that difference is? I'm gonna say most people don't. They don't know what that payment difference is. All they know is it's going to be more.
Also, people have no idea what their payment will be, right? They say, oh, my budget, I'd like a $2,000 mortgage payment, but okay, so have you been looking on Zillow or wherever to see what you're looking? Yeah, we've been looking at the $600,000 range. You're like, okay, well, we'll just have to reset some expectations to make sure everybody knows where it's at. But this way you can have a handy dandy tool, or you can just be like, okay, let's chat it through, right? What does that look like? So.
I literally had that exact scenario where a client running around with a number in his head, what he's paying, he thought it could be, and he was looking at the stuff with an agent.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with him, and he told me this number, and I said, where did you come up with that payment number? And he said, well, based on my current mortgage, and I doubled, I said, okay. I said, so do you want, and at the time it was a.
Cover the one, or, carry the
Yeah,
one.
that was-
and multiply by the-
Yeah, $2,800. You want this? He's like, well, okay. I said, well, great, then it's a $1.2 million house. Right.
Whoa, yeah, I don't care for that. That doesn't fit the budget, so.
Well, this is a great visual too, right? If you bring this to a buyer appointment or
Don't put it on
something.
social media, please.
No.
It's internal and it's not approved.
It's not approved. Don't put it out there on
Please
social
don't put
media.
it out there.
But it's more of a
Unless you put
one,
your name on it.
it's more of a one-on-one conversation though, is truly what this is used for, right? Or for when you're making phone calls, if you put that on social media, you're like, what are you willing to buy at? What interest rate? And they throw out 6% and you say to them, awesome, what does that look like for your loan? And you can just help just on a very, very wide spread by having this right at your desk and say, okay, great. You want to buy a $500,000 house. This is where you'd purchase at. Are you comfortable with, the range of a, $2,900 payment to 32? And they're like, absolutely not. Maybe we should meet and chat then and talk about what you could actually do right now in your situation. right? Now you're educated and you have a real conversation besides just throwing out your opinion of the market.
Are those numbers assuming 20% down?
That's just if you borrow that amount.
It's just the loan amount, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
just the
you
loan
have-
amount, just principal and interest. Escrow obviously is gonna be more, but yeah, and.
Purchasing power is probably a little higher than that, but that's your loan amount.
Right, yeah, it all depends on what you have for a down payment, right? But that's what the actual monthly, according in your debt to income ratio would be.
The other thing that's helpful is when you can show them the difference between 425 and 450 is $150.
Right.
And
I
just
often do
to
that.
break it down into like practical.
I always talk to people and say, here's your range. Try to, like, I've heard that with you guys do a CMA or whatever, you bracket it or whatever. Try to do that on this too, to say, hey, guys, let's stretch your legs a little bit just so you can see, because you might not see in a home at 425 that checks all your boxes, but if one at 450 or 460, there's where it's at, right? So.
Or you come into
Definitely do
multiple offers and someone's like, I am not going over 450. I am not doing that ever. And you're like, this is what it costs. Go to 475 to get the house that you really want. Right? Because how many times do people say that? They're like, I'm not going over this amount because I'm not doing it. Okay, let's talk about this logically, right? It actually costs this much more. Are you willing to do that for this particular house that you fell in love with? And they're like, oh, it's only that? Yeah, I am. Or no, I'm not, right? All right, any other questions?
Just reiterating the condo call, tomorrow. Like I said, we got some resources that we can share with you too, from that call. A checklist for both listing and buy side. They'll go over kind of, if you guys are looking at a listing that's in a condo, how do we do some pre-work to make sure that the association is not gonna be an issue? As it comes down, same on the buy side, some handy dandy things to do that way. Just a really knowledgeable guy. We've been able to do things that others haven't because we've got a guy who knows what he's doing at the top of the heap, and that's this guy. So I think it'd definitely be worth coming in, checking it out. It's worth an hour of your time or less. There'll probably be, a half hour, 45 minutes at most, depending on how many questions there are. So just remind folks, come on by, please. Invite your friends.
We haven't talked about this since we moved the media room, and I'm gonna maybe offer you guys up. But if it's something that what we just talked about, right, and you wanna do a Q&A with them on a very surface level in the media room, set up a time and we can go in there and we can do a video for social media to help your clients understand what's actually going on with interest rates, right? Because if you're like, I don't know how to speak to this, awesome. Let's get 4 questions together, put them in the media room. You guys can, divvy up who wants to do the video and get some things out there. Let's start utilizing that and having questions asked and answered by the people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely willing to do that. Anything that comes up.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Did I put another one in there?
I don't know.
I did.
Nope, you did it. I would utilize them as much as possible, just in regards to their knowledge base and what's going on in the market. Okay, so the last portion of this meeting, I sat there and I was talking to Heather and I'm like, what do people need right now? We were on a national call and it was all these things that, we should do team meetings on. And honestly, I want to, number one, this portion of the meeting, I'm going to ask you guys a question and I want you to be completely honest on the answers to this, because that's the only way that this is going to be beneficial for you, right? So I sat there and I was talking to Heather and I'm like, what if I just went in there today and I asked them what their top challenges in their business are right now? Because when I think about what's going on in the market, going on in real estate, going on in the shifts and the lawsuits and everything else, there are mindsets out there that are so negative. Right? And when you take something that might be negative or is changing and you shift that and you shift your mindset to having an opportunity in every single place, right? There's a problem. With every problem, there's opportunity and someone's going to find it. It may or may not be you that finds the opportunity with the problem, right? That's why right now I want to know, what are your top challenges you're having so that as a group, we can find the opportunities that you can take advantage of with those challenges. Because I do not believe that there's not something on the other side of it that someone else is capitalizing on. You guys agree with that? All right, so what are your challenges right now?
Time blocking prospecting calls.
Time block, okay? What else?
I've had a few people saying waiting till after election, which has been helpful for the last few meetings. I've been able to like counter that, but that's been a big.
Okay. What else? I know there's a lot of challenges out there. Okay.
High prices.
Lack of inventory.
A challenge we're going to face soon is insurance coverage. That's something we should talk about.
I think commission conversations, seems some challenging.
I was just gonna say, nobody mentioned that. We've been talking about it for 4 weeks. So either it wasn't a problem, which we talked about when it quote unquote, everyone thought the sky was falling, is a positive. But I do think that that's still gonna come up, right?
I'm seeing some people are raising them and some people are lowering them and it's just an interesting thing.
Okay,
Some people don't know what to do at all.
Right.
okay,
There's still some of that.
okay. What else?
I think, follow-up systems so that we are following up on every open house lead and on other things. As I pull up my pipeline, I'm just looking, realizing I've got a lot of cracks. So
Okay.
getting some.
Okay, what else? What else is a challenge right now?
Patience to wait for people to make a decision.
Is that just for you?
Maybe just melt that down to patience.
Yeah. Should we just put it as that? What else? I have not heard one that I hear all the time.
People don't like me.
You're so used to that one by now. That's not even challenging.
Great, that's
I
what
love
we
you.
I'm like,
I don't like.
add another one to the list.
On Zoom, they said winning the listing.
Just put appointment in general, right?
I would say almost all of our listings recently have just been very messy in the sense of divorce, lots of divorce situations, dates, just where our normal checklist is really, it's great, but there's so many things that like are one-offs lately on our listings that quite frankly are exhausting.
Even a vendor for that, like, what is that, if it's like a contingent, I feel like contingent offers are coming up again, and you need to have your house ready in 3 days, right? What else?
Tony's point, about like patience, I find a lot of buyers are currently very unrealistic on what they should be paying for property.
You're not seeing that on the sales side.
That sellers are unrealistic on pricing? Not really.
Are you?
No one said, where do I get leads? Lead gen. Are we just crushing that? Everyone's crushing that?
I wanna hang out with you,
Because
Scott.
I'm gonna tell you, none of these actually matter, right? But if we're crushing lead gen, tell me your secrets, because I'll erase all this.
I think Wendy's point about following up, I don't struggle to gain business. I lose so much business by not, if I don't offload it fast enough, or I had to make 2 apology calls this morning. We'll see if I get them back. Like,
I think that's a common theme, right? So we get really excited, we go to the open house, they leave their information, we're like, oh, yes, right? Then they don't call us right away. Then we send one more email maybe on a Friday, put them on a drip. And then we don't follow up anymore.
I've heard this stat that agents nationwide are getting usually 1 out of 20 leads. That's all they're converting on that. What do you guys think? Like, is that low, high, indifferent? Like,
I think it depends on the source.
yeah.
So like open houses, the conversion ratio I've heard is it's 1 out of 4. So if your conversion ratio is not 25%, you should work on your scripts. And are you getting people to sign in? We have people sign in on an iPad now, and the iPad is Barry's getting every single person to sign in. And setting appointments from that.
So I think the iPad is the best. Like if you have that just sitting up or you have it on a stand and you're saying, hey, you sign in and we'll also send you all the information on the home. There's no objection there. They're like, okay, great. They're gonna ask, where's the flyer? We don't have one. It's all online.
But then like,
Are you using an app for the sign in, or are you just using?
yeah, it's through our CRM.
There's another app. What is that?
I think it's
Command
called
has
Open
one
House
too.
Pro, was
Yeah,
an
Command
old
has one.
app. Which one?
Command has one, yep.
And it automatically does those.
Yep. And it already has the like 1 pager for that particular house. Yeah. It's already.
The other trick really quick, since we're talking open houses, is Barry's finding if we don't have our like highlight and sheet and flyers out, then he'll say like, by filling this out, it'll send that to you automatically.
Yeah.
And so then it's like that value of what they want to get by giving you their contact information.
I'm not sure if Command does that, but I know that some open house apps actually send out the email that you already have. As soon as they sign in and they press submit, you get an email sent out, and sometimes you'll have a thank you for coming to the open house, and that could be right in there, right? Where it's like, oh, because let's be honest, you get done with the open house, you throw the signs in the car, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, now I gotta go deal with like this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to dinner with a friend. Now I have kids all around, and you forget to even say thank you to these people for coming to the open house.
I think open houses have been since this whole commission thing, exponentially better than ever. There's so many buyers running around that in their head don't want to sign buyer agreement. Going to open house, and Nicole Daly open house, that's one of our listings last weekend, and we had multiple people come in that unrepresented but seriously looking for a house. Like, what the hell? You're seriously being, when I always have the conversation with them, I'm like, you understand that Mr. Jones, if you're not represented, you're never seeing the A+ inventory, right? You mean, because the A+ inventory never hits the market. That's told by the good agents who obviously find clients and buyers like that. So the epiphany, but it's crazy. I mean, Nicole was mind blown at how many, this is a $1.3 million listing. No, $1 million. And she's like, yeah, I couldn't believe the people coming into this house that are legitimate looking, and they don't have an agent. And is it because they don't want one, because they're scared to sign this agreement that's gonna supposedly cost them money?
I think that's also a mindset thing that we have as agents, right? And the moment that you're like, no, you have to sign this. Again, you don't go to most places without signing in. I had my daughter, for her birthday, got a facial, and you had to sign this whole thing. Do you think I read that whole thing, or do you think I signed it and let her go to the facial? That was an hour. I signed the thing because they told me I had to sign it. I don't get to go into there unless I sign it. I'm not like, could you change this line because I don't know if I really like that. No, you sign it. You just go.
I turned someone away from my open house 2 weeks ago that wouldn't sign in.
I think that's a mindset thing for
They're not a buyer.
our industry. We are so like panicked to have someone sign, and they're like, well, I don't want to sign it. That's not, no.
And he got really aggressive when I rejected him, and that was confirmation to me, because I did have an agent shadowing me, and I was like, no buyer gets the right to be aggressive and be nasty because they won't leave me their phone number and email.
Told you I was real.
It was rich. All right, what other challenges do we have? Is this an exhaustive list of challenges right now?
That's a long list there.
Mhm.
Okay. So we have about 4 minutes. Do we want to take one of these and just get some ideas right off the bat? Otherwise, I'm going to bring these into each team meeting. I'm going to ask agents, right? And there might be some things that I'll just send out about these challenges and what the opportunities are from them. Do we want to do one of them right now?
Yes.
Which one?
Oh. Well, I think it piggybacks off of what Eric said earlier. And I think with anyone, they just need to know the numbers. So if they, like, people aren't buying based on sales price, they're buying based on mortgage payment. So if you can run the numbers for them on the mortgage payment and create confidence around that for them, I'm not running into interest rate issues right now at all.
Okay, so interest rate, what's the opportunity then? What's the like, if we were to say to someone like, oh, interest rates seem to be a challenge for me right now. What's the opportunity?
Trips.
You can do it.
SC.
No. What? You can no longer use
I
that
believe
word.
in you. Can you use scripts?
No, you can't, well,
Informed communication.
Yeah. Know what to say. You can't say that word anymore because it's.
Especially.
I wasn't brought up to speed on that. We're not supposed to use that word. Sorry.
Okay, so know what to say, right? What's another opportunity with interest rates?
Room two.
I think so refer.
They referred to a really great lender that you can reach out to on weekends and evenings. Like ideally, you're not reaching out evenings and weekends for both of your sanity, but the other thing is I don't put a buyer in the car most of the time unless they have met with the lender. I never put them in the car if they aren't pre-approved, but I got kicked in the butt recently where I drove all over Timbuktu on a Saturday and they had not done the meeting with the lender and they decided because of rates, they were gonna be making a lateral move for the same payment and they didn't wanna move. And so being able to prioritize those people, because if I wouldn't have shown them houses and would have stood firm to like, hey, you really need to sit down with the lender and have this conversation first, I would have saved myself an entire day.
Well, and we were already talking about the education part, but like helping them understand that spending like $200 or $300 on DoorDash a month isn't a good way to spend their money. I mean, I don't know. I have friends that are able to drive to the grocery store and they're just too lazy and they're just throwing money away on DoorDash. So.
I mean, if you were at Mega Camp Family Reunion, I don't remember which one it was, and Gary just unleashed on people spending $18 on a cocktail, and he's like, but they still are renting. Like, I mean, he was like beating that one home real hard. I was like, I mean, it's true, right? Like, true.
I think as much as Bethany said the lender's available like on nights and weekends, I think the starting point of that, especially if they're pausing, of having a lender that's following up with someone and saying, hey, rates might be changing now. And if you can work in conjunction on moving the train forward instead of you trying to push it, then talk to them, I think it's much easier to process.
I think like I said, learn and educate, right? Because if you don't understand it, it's hard to educate someone else on it, right? So as we were just sitting here talking about this, we don't know everything about how interest rates are done as a majority, right? And I don't even know if everybody has the details on that. Like who says what, how does that shift this, yada, yada, yada. So the more that we can learn, and then we are able to educate on a pretty like just normal basis before we send them to the lender of like, hey, you should reach out because of these reasons. And to your point of the budget, I know Shane's not in here, but he talks a lot about how he educates his buyers and his sellers on what's their monthly budget look like, right? I talk about this with agents that I'm trying to get them to, figure out what their goal is too. Most people don't know what their monthly budget is. They have no idea because there's this thing called a credit card that if they can't afford it, they still just put it on there until they can pay for it. Right? There's probably people in this room right now that don't know their monthly budget. But you should probably know that before you buy the largest purchase of your life, most likely in that moment of time, you should know what your budget is. Talk about that with people, right? Like have that piece of your conversation, have that opportunity of interest rates. Interest rates are too high, I can't do that. Let's talk about that a little bit more. What's your monthly budget? I don't know. I don't think I can pay this. Well, let's look into it. Put together a form that shows, okay, this is food expense, this is insurance, this is gas, this is your car payment, this is childcare, whatever, whoever you're working with, help them work through that. Do you think someone would remember that? They don't think that they can make a move or they don't think they can buy their first house. And you show them that they can. That's a pretty powerful thing.
That same end, if they have a home and they locked in at the 3% rate, but now they can't move because they've got the golden handcuffs or whatever, you can show them consumer debt and how to sell the house, pay off the consumer debt, buy a new house that fits their family and actually pay less every month. Based on that too, just using the equity that they've built in that house too. So it can be a leverage for
I
you.
think over time, we've put ourselves in this box that we show homes, we make the house look pretty, and we negotiate. If that's what you believe your job is, shame on you. That's not your job. That's part of your job. There's so much more to being a real estate agent. Otherwise, the general public's right, and they're like, man, you're overpaid. They're right. If you think that's all that you're here to do, absolutely right in most scenarios. I'm gonna leave you with that. And the next time you have a question or you don't think you should go to a training as well, educate yourself so that we can educate our clients.
One thing I'll throw out there is January and February, if you wanna add this to your growth plan. January and February of next year, I'm gonna be leading weekly calls specifically for real estate agents. For a platform that has over 3,000 real estate agents on it. And, they're weekly wealth calls. And so literally walking through, like Amy said, like, if you don't know your own budget, which they fluctuate, right, in real estate, sometimes when, what's the saying, like, feast or famine, there we go. Like, I joke that I know how to save or like stretch $1,000 better than anyone, but I can get rid of 10,000 faster than anyone.
That's so true.
Yeah. Anyway, it walks you through even into real estate investing and everything else. It's 8 weeks. There's homework. It's pretty intense, but it's given me a lot of confidence since it was created in the pandemic to have these kinds of conversations with clients.
It also makes you.
It's free.
It makes you able to tell a story. Like a lot of people, like I don't have clients that have, I can tell their story. You be the client. You tell the story. You show how you built your wealth in real estate. You'll be your best story. And I guarantee when you do that, everyone wants to learn from you. Everybody. Wants and needs. Do we have any? We're over time, but if you have to, I just want people to know if they have to leave, they can leave, but wants and needs are great.
And my, a good friend has a condo in Strawberry Commons. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, has to be cash buyer, but you could buy it for like 65K, and it's been renting for like $1,100.
Where's Strawberry Commons?
Brooklyn Park, kind of where CarMax and all that is back there. So.
What else we got?
I have an agent friend who doesn't work here, but she's got 2 listings, one in some point, we'll bring her in, one in 2 bedrooms, bath in uptown St. Louis Park area. It's got a garage space. The place, it's like 225 motivated buyer or seller. And the they allow rentals, and then another one in Stevens Square. One, 2-bedroom, I think there too, 1 bath, both with a garage, and they also allow, and that's like 150. So if anybody's got any buyers who are looking condos in those range, let me know, I'll connect you.
Another one, I have a $900,000 home built in 2007. It's a hobby farm, 40 acres. They've had sheep there. There's like 4 different outbuildings on it. It's kind of fun. But really well maintained, a great looking house, right around 945, 950-ish.
Where is it?
Between Rockford and Buffalo, so it's Buffalo Township there.
There is no city on the hobby farm. Its own city.
For your short-term housing needs, we have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath furnished North Loop condo available for $4,600 a month. It's available right now, 3-month minimum. It's fantastic location right across from Free House Restaurant, and your clients need to show up with their suitcase and they can have groceries delivered and just start living. So if they need somewhere to live for like 3 to 6 months, it's a pretty darn easy way to do it.
Awesome.
If you or your clients are looking to become investors, I have a couple very qualified renters, looking in the 3,000 range, Minneapolis, St. Louis Park, Lake of the Isles area. So if you or your clients are.
I do, other half of my duplex is ready for a tenant. But that is.
All right. Any other wants and needs, send to Lydia. She will send those out in an email. I think it's, you put it up there, it's like address, beds, baths, price point, location, just so that she can add all that in there. All right, have a good one.